I'm Sam Dale, singer-songwriter, guitar player. What else? That's it, isn't it? I was born in Lincoln, which is in the East Midlands of England. It's like the hidden corner of England because no one ever goes there. It's not on the way anywhere. And since, I mean, it used to be quite an important town, but that was 700 years ago. And in the last few centuries, it's been on a bit of a downer. And it's a culturally kind of separate entity. There's this corner of the east of England where, a bit like in Germany, where nobody goes. So it's remained kind of cut off from the rest of England. Like London is a very cosmopolitan city, Manchester's quite a big city, Birmingham. And if you're going through, you're travelling, and you know things get sort of passed on. But Lincoln, no. But at the same time, it's a fascinating place because it's been a city since long before the Romans came to what's now England. You know, and it's got this ancient past and this enormous cathedral. And also the fact that Lincolnshire, like Brandenburg, is completely flat. So you can see the cathedral for 30 kilometres in every direction. You can't get away from it. So it like somehow gets into your psyche, and you always have this slightly gothic, folky feeling. Added to which, growing up when I was, like in the 90s in Lincoln, everybody played music, partly under the influence of Britpop, right? Everybody had a guitar, and that's a massive influence. You know, you end up, that's your social thing. You play football and you play guitar, and everybody has to play, everybody has to sing. So that was a big factor in why I never got a real job. Yeah, and I've always had this impulse to be like on stage. Ever since I was a kid, I went on stage when I was 4 for the first time on a family holiday, telling a joke about a worm. But I always wanted to be singing. Oh, yeah, if you want to be on stage with a guitar, you can't be on stage unless you sing, right? And you can't really be on a stage with a guitar singing unless you've got songs to sing. It's kind of all comes from that impulse. But I played my first concert in my class. I played The Holly and the Ivy, the Christmas Carol, with my mate Tom G on the piano. He can't remember it. And then me and Tom played again when we were 11 in front of our whole year group. And that was good.
Spending all your evenings in an internet cafe, Skyping at midnight, wasting your time away. 25 computer screens sitting in a row, Skyping at midnight with nowhere else to go. You know you've been Skyping, and it's only very fine line that separates alone and lonely. Paint peeling off the walls, toilets blocked and broke. When did my life turn into an internet joke? There's a woman in another world who knows your name. The man next to you's watching porn. Don't it seem kind of the same? You know you've been Skyping all night long. You could have been writing a song. Do 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 do. Da 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 da, do 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 do. as the evening falls, a voice from home calls, and you wonder why you stay so very far away, when having those you love around you is its own reward. Skyping at midnight, baby, ain't you bored? You know you've been Skyping, and it's only a very fine line that separates alone and lonely, waiting for a miracle, someone to make it right. But sitting here all on your own, watching the fading light, and Skyping right through the night.
You pick up on the people who are going to influence you. Like I said, like I grew up with like the Beatles and Britpop and stuff, but you start looking at, well, what is the more in my direction? The first thing was Nick Drake. When I was about 14, I first heard Nick Drake and I was like, yeah, far out, that. But Nick Drake's almost too perfect, you know, he's so rarefied, you can never really hope to approach that. And then you start looking around, and I got very into Julian Cope. It's kind of the opposite, you know, like this punk aesthetic, but with these kind of magnificent and like all-encompassing ideas behind his whole approach. Tim Buckley is like my big influence. I got into Tim Buckley when I was 17 because one of his CDs was on sale in the local record shop, and when I heard him, I thought, yeah, man, like this guy's got the voice of all the 20th century pop singers, as it were. You take out jazz and classical, you've got Tim Buckley, like, and if you're gonna be a singer, if you're gonna learn to sing, you might as well learn from the king, you know. But by the time I got to London, I'd been kind of kicking about all over the place by then, and I wasn't really aware of what was going on in anyone else's music scene. I saw friends' bands, and that was about it, and I was really kind of up my own arse, which I think is the right place for a singer to be, really. So no, I mean, London's always the centre of everything that happens in Britain, for better or worse. It's always like the only place where anything's happening, but I wasn't really influenced by. I mean, the only thing in London was friends of mine got involved in the folk scene, so through that I got involved in a little bit with like my mate Jack Day, who's now in Sugar Magnolia, brilliant, Benjamin Folker Thomas, people like that. That was nice, like a bit of interaction with them. But London's such a big place, there is no one scene, you know, like there is no everyone here is into. It's like there's a grime scene and a folk scene and a people throwing tomatoes at bosses scene, you know, like there's every scene you can imagine. So it's nice for that, London, isn't it? It's like you can find the stuff that appeals to you as opposed to getting into what is appealing.
Well, the highway lies left far behind, and my bed for the night is wherever I find. I never meant to do no wrong, I'm no killer, I'm only singer of songs. Well, songs are phantasms that play through my mind, and to sing them, live them, is the one joy I find. Sound is a forest, and I'm lost among the trees. I'm only a singer of songs. Well, my life is a train I ride to the end, but I ride it alone. I have no friend, but I'm waiting and hoping for a place I belong. But there's no stop here for a singer of songs. I once had a woman who loved me half to death. Said she'd never leave me till I breathed my last breath. But I had to go, 'cause I knew she belonged to the man. Me, I'm only a singer of songs. Well, if I had a castle, I'd pull it down. If I had some money, I'd go into town. I'd spend it on drinking and getting along, wait with nothing, go back to singing my song. Well, the nightingale's voice cuts through the rain. She had no choice, and she feels no pain. Me, I could have been different, but I'm singing along in the rain. I'm only a singer of songs.
I ended up in London working and living in a warehouse for my uncle, and then one day he found out that I was living in the warehouse but I hadn't actually been working there for several years and just did nothing, so he sacked me. The next thing I know, I was just in Berlin, and I went into a bar, into Transit on Schlesierstrasse, and I asked, how do you get a concert here? And the guy was like, you just bring a guitar and play. So I thought, that kind of suits me better, that kind of suits my approach to music better. I've always liked not organising things and being really lazy, and I thought, yeah, Berlin's my place. So that's where I stayed. I never just missed my flight home. And I was walking around bars singing some songs, and I went into one in Friedrichshain, and I was singing, like, I remember singing Soul Kitchen by the Doors, you know, let me sleep all night in your... And these two of the feminists, or Sticks in the Casino, as they're also called, two of the guys were sitting down, and one of them told me a few weeks ago, he said, Kevin said to Holger, "Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" And the other guy's like, "Yeah, I want to drink another beer." And he's like, "No, I mean like this guy, he is our singer." "Oh, okay." So I finished singing my songs, and this guy, this like confused looking guy with glasses, came up to me and said, "Do you have a band?" And I was like, "No." "Do you want to be in our band?" "Don't know, don't even know what you're called yet." "Do you want a beer?" "Yeah." "Okay, so you're in our band." And then that was it. I was in their band. And then they gave me a link to their music, and I listened to it, and I was like, all right. I thought it was the best music ever. And this was the Sticks in the Casino. We rehearsed, and we got everything ready for the first Sticks show. And it was all right. It was like 6 weeks. And then the next day, the guys were like, "Oh, are you also singing in our other band?" And I was like, "What other band, you lunatics?" And they were like, "Oh, the Feminists, where we dress up in women's clothes and play party music." And I was like, why did we just waste 6 weeks rehearsing someone else when you've got such a brilliant idea up your sleeves? And then that weekend we went and we played in Kirby, you know, the kind of old Besetzthaus on Köpenickstraße. And it was a dark and stormy night. And the guys, I think they really thought that I was only going to sing 2 songs, and that I was going to stand next to the stage in women's clothes the whole rest of the time, which obviously didn't happen, because I just like climbed on the amps and kicked them over and beat everybody up before the end of the introduction, really. And then that was it. We were the Feminists. We're all multifaceted personalities, aren't we? The only problem is, I mean, like, I definitely have space in my soul for these 2 sides. In fact, I remember when I first started both, I was like, this is great because I get to be like Tim Buckley on a Thursday and Jim Morrison on a Friday, right? And Tim Buckley was a great acoustic singer-songwriter. Obviously, Jim Morrison's like the archetypal rock star. I noticed that recently, I think it represents in some way a kind of maturing, that I realised that now I want to be like Bruce Springsteen on a Thursday and David Lee Roth on a Friday. I mean, like, because at least those 2 guys are still alive, right? I think I'm basically too old to be Tim Buckley or Jim Morrison now, because they were both dead before they were my age. So yeah, I've moved on. Also from the 60s to the 80s. I think that definitely represents like a move in the right direction. The only interruption it makes is that sometimes after a feminist show I can't fucking speak for 4 days after, because I've like destroyed my voice, so I can't sing. But that's the only problem. Other than that, like, I've got space to express the full breadth of my, you know, self-obsessedness, which is nice.
Now there must be a word to fix the trouble we've got in. And I know that you've been talking, but your words aren't sinking in. We could try all night to say the word to make it right somehow. But if we still couldn't say it after all this time, how we gonna find a way to see it now? When you talk, a gypsy serenade is in my ears. Words are thrown, a fuse is blown by memories and fears. We're buried in an avalanche of chaos we allow. And if we still couldn't stop it after all this time, how we gonna find a way to stop it now? Wondering what went wrong. All we learned is that this road is long, so long. standing on the lover's stage, we are the only cast. And the script is ripped and torn, and words are born like a shotgun blast. And the rugged audience, they sense it's time to take a bow. 'Cause if we still couldn't make it after all this time, how we gonna find a way to make it now? Do you remember when we'd never fight, but only used to talk and love all night? But for all the words we said, it seems the net was slipped or maybe just too tight for the word that couldn't make it right and show the light somehow. 'Cause if we still couldn't say it after all this time, oh, if we still couldn't say it after all this time, if we still couldn't say it after all this time, how we gonna find a way to see it now?